All right, we should be live now. Give me just 1 second, make sure it's starting. Okay. There we go. Awesome. All right, so, yes, I'm returning. I'm still alive. I'll go into why, for those who don't already know, once we get some people in here. But actually, we might want to ask a bunch of questions to you guys today, not just questions for me, but we'll get there in a bit. But yeah, I'm coming up on making a new review. I have a LCD 2C on the way. Emailed Odyssey about that during a sale. You might have seen that. So that's in the works, well, or will be soon. Coming back to life here. Yeah, I thought you guys would be excited. So good to still have the audience. Glad people are sticking with the channel. Oh wow, my stream is buffering now. Did I die or am I good? Oh, there we go. Yeah, I have no idea why that happened. Okay. Trying to do 8 megabits up here. Hopefully it works out. Yeah, so this is mainly a Q&A, but I wanted to ask some of you guys some questions as well, because I actually lost some of the the files that I had for how I do reviews. So I want to see if maybe we can change around the order of the categories or something like that as well. But yeah, I'll start taking questions here. Let's see. Have I heard the new Eminem? No, I heard about that, but I did not actually listen to it yet. If that's on Spotify, I'm gonna have to check it out. I don't know if it is. And yeah, thanks everyone for the welcome back. Will I review the Sundaras? Yeah, I mean, if someone sends me one, perhaps. Sorry, the chat is like down here, so it's gonna be a little weird not looking at the camera, but I never look at the camera. You guys know that. Biodynamic rebranding. Yeah, I thought that was hilarious. Because, you know, AKG came out with the Y series, Bluetooth headphones, the Y50. I heard those once, and they were actually pretty good. I was surprised. They're really bassy, though, so they're definitely a consumer sound. But I thought it was funny that now Biodynamic's getting in on this, oh, let's appeal to the consumer market. I mean, it's a smart move from a marketing perspective, but, you know, it's kind of funny. I will make only closed-back headphones reviews now. No, I review everything, but I never really got into IEM, so maybe I'll have to look at that category some more in the near future. I'll probably end up repeating myself later, but the real reason why I was gone for so long is because I had a lot of wrist problems that were developing over time. I had them for years and years, and I finally got surgery like about a week and a half ago, and I'm already much, much better. So I could actually return and start working again and that kind of thing. Let's see. Does consumer friendly generally equate to lesser quality but better aesthetic? That's a really good question. You know, it's funny. There are a couple of headphones that buck that trend. I would say the Bang & Olufsen H6, which I already reviewed. It's definitely a good example of, you know, a consumer targeted headphone, but it actually has really decent sound. Surprisingly decent for being consumer friendly. But it's not necessarily mutually exclusive high sound quality and consumer aesthetics. So it can happen. Oh god, ultrasounds, no. No Ultrasound Pro 900s. Actually, I don't know. I have hardly ever heard an ultrasound at all. So that would be really funny to do a review on those, and probably end up bashing them because it's treble. You know me and treble. They don't get along very well. You're designing a planar magnetic. Have you posted about that before on like r/headphones or anything? Or is this like something completely different? Because I see like a lot of people are trying to invent their own planar now. So I don't know. I'm just curious which one it is. GTR planars. Yeah, the advanced audio thing. If that's what that is. Yeah. Well, no, wait a minute. Advanced audio does have a GTR, doesn't it? But I don't know, an Indiegogo. That must be something else. what do I think of Zee Reviews? Oh man, actually, him and I are real life buddies. So most of the things I say are really just in jest. He's just a different style of reviewer. Zee Reviews, the purpose is obviously entertainment. He's giving his honest opinion, but his standards for what sound he likes changes depending on the headphone, because I think he goes more along the lines of, does a headphone fit what it's trying to target? Does it work with the target market, rather than like, okay, does it fit does it fit a new, or does it fit the response that you're looking for, which is more of my stricter methodology. So I think that's the biggest thing about Zee Reviews, and maybe the biggest difference is the target sound is not as consistent for him, because he looks at headphones in a more general sense. Okay, good. I'm glad. That's good that all the new subs that I got since I stopped posting haven't seen me at all. So, I figured a live Q&A would be a good way to come back, so that I get some community engagement here. I also enabled super chat, believe it or not. I'm not big on monetizing things. I'm trying to stay away from Patreon or whatever. But I don't know. YouTube is just like, hey, have a super chat, and I'm like, okay, fine. You guys don't have to use it. I'm still gonna answer all your questions, as many as I can anyway. But it's there. Let's see. I love his reviews. I just watch them for fun. Yeah, he's really entertaining. He's a total blast in person. He's so funny. So that's exactly a good reason to watch Zeos. Mezzi Empyrean, yes. I talked to Antonio Mezza at NYC Can Jam when I went earlier this year. And definitely looked like an interesting headphone. Looks like it's a little bit bright for me, but for a lot of people, it's probably going to be perfectly fine. I wonder how that design is going to work out for them. Too bad we don't have Tile anymore, because he would, I'm sure, have some more interesting things to say about that design. Because it's definitely an unusual shaped driver. Let's see, 2 to 3 times more magnetic. So you mean like more magnetic fields? Yeah, Odyssey has said that. That's just a guy in the comment. I keep forgetting I have to reread the questions for people who watch this thing later. Although supposedly the chat replays now, which is good. Anyway, that's just what YouTube says. I have no idea. Planers with a lot of magnetic field apparently actually help contribute to the speed of the driver greatly. So yeah, that's probably a good thing to be having. Want to try to set up T60 RPs. Honestly, I'm kind of done with the whole Fostex driver thing. I've heard so many of them, and so many of them have just been, but I might still review the Talos too eventually. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Depends on what Matt Economist wants me to do. I'm more educational than Z. Yeah, that's definitely it. Who, Z is not responsive to his viewers unless you pay? I don't know. He has a lot more, subs than I do, so I wouldn't be surprised. I try to respond as much as I can. Which is not all the time. I mean, I get like probably at least 10 comments a day asking about what headphones should I buy, and in my seat it's going to get old quickly unless I have a quick answer. I usually let other people chime in. Have I tried Focal products? Yeah, of course. I got a chance to hear the Utopia and the Clear so far. The Clear had a little bit of a really narrow peak in the mid treble around 10K. That was kind of annoying to me. I didn't really like that very much. Although I'm sure with EQ it's probably really good. It's just a minor quibble, So I might have gotten over that. But I've never tried them at home. It's just kind of like a meet environment. I tried those at a meet, and then the Utopia I heard at Can Jam, and it was superb. It's like apparently it measures more like a slightly brighter Odyssey, which is actually really good, because that's a lot more down the line HD 600 of the Summit Phi stuff, I was having this conversation the other day with some friends. Let's see, are DAPs a viable consumer product? I still think that's kind of a niche market, but I'm not really the target market for that. So because I don't really use DAPs. I mean, people who are more into high-end CIEMs are more likely to get into DAPs, because I mean they're high power, they're focused on non-streaming, just pure quality, and they're definitely more of a niche thing, I think. But I mean, you guys might completely disagree with me. That's just how I think about them. I know what Zee looks like. Yes. I mean, don't you guys? You probably have still seen his reflections in some of the videos by now. And he's been to many meets, so you can always go to a meet that he's going to and meet the guy. He's a blast in person. Where can I contact? Well, I have, let's see, I have a contact email in my About page that usually just gets spammed with Chinese companies trying to get their headphones to me, and I'm just like, okay, no. So I'm looking for stuff that's popular, not like random stuff that's on Amazon. So I usually don't respond to those, but if you have a model that I'm interested in, I'll let you know. Just give me some turnaround time, because I'm not sure what my schedule is going to be on reviewing at the moment, but I'm on my way back is kind of what I should say. Will I pay shipping back to you? Usually yes. Yeah, usually I have the person pay shipping and then I ship them back at my expense. And if they need insurance, I'll pay for that, and that's fine. Making on is the LCD2 closed back. I bought an LCD classic open back, so you'll at least see that one. I'm very interested in what that closed back is like, but I'm not buying both at the same time right now. If someone sends me one, I'll definitely give that a shot. Hi, lots of hellos here. Do all DACs sound the same? I bought a $6,000 DAC and it sounds identical to a Modi too. I'm sorry. I'm just that's a really funny thing to read, because people are so uptight about amps and DACs in general. You know, I was just having a conversation on Reddit about that in a Reddit thread, and I got, apparently people agree with me. I got a lot of upvotes. I'm not really big into amps and DACs because I feel like they're like the last 5% in the chain, unless you already have a really, really, really good headphone. And even then, the amp will probably make more difference than the DAC will when you swap it out. There are differences, but I don't think they affect my reviews enough for me to upgrade. I'm still using the Modi multi-bit and a Magni 3 here. Although I have moved from a Focusrite Scarlett Solo to power the Rode NT1 to a Behringer UMC 44 HD, which was on sale, because it's just, I'm sick of the drivers for the Focusrite. Anyway, going off subject there. Thanks for saying it's good to see me back. I really appreciate that. Let's see. A closed back version with the same sound signature as a DT990. Honestly, I'm not so sure about that, because you know, the biodynamic open backs, their treble is unique, and if I think about their closed backs, which would obviously be the most similar, the closed backs always are accompanied with more bass, almost always. I mean, unless you go real high into like the T5P or something, that's probably the closest, but that thing is way expensive, so you probably don't want to buy that. DT880 or K702 for production, I would go with the 880. But even then, I would probably supplement that with an HD600. Depends on what kind of sound you're looking for. The K702s, I think the mid-range is just weird. But I was talking to, I had a really good comment on one of Joshua Valor's videos the other day. And it was a sound engineer saying that the AKGs are actually really good. And it's not really the sound signature that's a problem. It's more like their sense of soundstage is actually more helpful. So I don't know. I guess I have to take a step back here on the whole sound engineering recommendations thing, because clearly the studio engineers have different tastes than I do, which is not surprising. Let's see. Adding 2 magnets in a single slot rather than one for your planar magnetic. Well, yeah, I mean, planars tend to be heavy. Any reviews in the pipeline? Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, LCD2C is going to be coming. I don't know, maybe a couple weeks. We'll see what happens. See how fast. It depends on how fast Odyssey ships that to me. I need about a week to evaluate it at least. Will I make a FIO Q5 review? I don't even know what the Q5 is anymore. I'm so behind on that line. You saw the ELA Titanium and Wood have such a gap in price. They do? I didn't even think they were selling the Wood anymore, are they? I don't know. The ELAs are discontinued officially, as far as I know. So you'll have to buy them used. If you really want one, I'm probably going to be selling mine after I get it back from Joshua Valor. Maybe say like $300 or something like that. So you know, you can message me about that if you want to buy that. Oh my God, op amp rolling? No, I mean, I just spoke at length about amps and DACs making a small difference compared to the headphones. So, it's up to you if you guys want to get into that. I'm sure they sound slightly different, but it's probably going to be a very small difference compared to, different headphones or different entire topologies of amplifier. Have I listened to anything by V-Moda? Yeah, M100s? Yeah. Yeah. M100s are pretty good. I thought they were a little aggressive in the mids and the highs, but I mean, some people might really like that still. So they're pretty decent. Kind of expensive though. I would wait until they go on sale before buying them. I don't remember what they were waiting for now, but last time it was like $300, which is kind of pricey. 800, the best buyer. Yeah, I think the Buyer Dynamic 880 is probably the best one they've made actually. Why do I have the name? I'm surprised this hasn't come up in a previous Q&A. Yeah, the name Metal 571 is really dumb, and it's just something I made up when I was like 14 years old or something. I've had Gmail so long that I was invited to get into Gmail when it first came out by a friend in high school, and I don't know, I was obviously still do listening to metal at the time, and I just came up with some random numbers, and that's it. So it really doesn't mean much. Sorry to burst your bubble on some hidden meaning there. V-Moda wireless. Yeah, I haven't tried the wireless ones. They may be more similar to a crossfade rather than an M100, so they may not sound quite as clear. Why is it Talos so bleep? I don't know. Ask Cascadia Audio. Oh, that's floppy. Oh, it's so funny. Of course. Am I gonna try out the LBH1000 XM3? I heard about those. I don't even know. I don't even know what the difference is. Didn't they add like noise canceling or something? And those, no, not noise canceling. What's wrong with me? That was in the first one. Assistant, Google Assistant or something. What is the deal with all the revisions on those Sonys? You guys tell me, actually. Is my room an indie album cover? I don't know, maybe. I did add a car collection, though. I have a Lamborghini Murcielago and a Lamborghini Diablo on that 1/18th scale on that shelf now, which is pretty funny. Some of my headphones are missing because Kinex has my HD800 and my 660S right now. I'm getting those back soon. Yeah, if you want to send me a prototype of the planers, even if I'm not reviewing them, I'd be happy to give you some feedback if that's what you're looking for. That'd be totally fine. I don't ship overseas though, so it's got to be within the U.S. If so, that'd be fine. Are the EL8Cs the closest sound signature to an HD600? No, not really. They're a little brighter. I think they're a little closer to a DT880 perhaps than an HD600. But their soundstage really isn't the best. Ever listened to German Maestro cans? I've been asked that multiple times, and I still have not. I don't know if they still exist, but I know that the headphones exist and, were made in the past. By the way, anyone got any feedback on my lip sync? Because I'm running a buffer on the webcam to make the frame smoother, and I adjusted forward the sound by 150 milliseconds, so hopefully it's matching a little bit better. I know in past streams it was probably bizarre. Anyway, am I getting an LCD2C? Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier, and you're getting yours next week. That's good. I mean, probably a lot of people... Okay, good. Probably a lot of people are buying the 2C. I don't know if they're still on the 20% off sale, but there was a 20% off sale yesterday during a live stream that Odyssey did, probably their first. And that was such a good deal that I was like, okay, fine. Because I heard them at Can Jam, and I liked them more than the LCD2 and the LCD3 regular ones, so I got that. Am I going to change the background to something more unique? The only thing I really want to do with this room is this whole place is painted with this weird, like, pale straw yellow, and it's stupid, and it looks dumb. So we're going to get some kind of light gray to repaint it eventually. But as far as the background being more unique, though, I don't know. We'll see. I'm not sure what I want to do with it yet. But for now, I'm just trying to make the videos with the information. I haven't thought about the environment as much, but at least I have, slightly better lighting than I used to. That lamp was blowing out the highlights like crazy in the old videos, and it was just really dumb. Let's see. CB1s have a channel imbalance. They share the same drivers as the M100. I'm going to have to take mine apart now. I actually have a CB1. Have you tried the M60X? No, not yet. Any interest in reviewing the 58X or a modded 1060? I'll definitely do the 58X because I do need to review those. One headphone at a time, though. So we'll have to work out timing. I don't want to take in a lot of headphones and keep them for like 3 months and then keep you guys away from them. That's what I'm worried about. Headphone recommendations for metal and gaming under $200. Probably the DT770 on that one. It's probably a DT770. The K553, which is actually what I'm wearing right now, is a more balanced headphone, but the DT770 gives you that soundstage advantage that you're looking for, and the bass plus treble V-shape is very, very fun, I think, for a lot of metal. So that should be working pretty well for you if you get that. Have I heard the M70X? No, but from the measurements I've seen, my guess would be it's really aggressive compared to the M40 or M50X. So I'm not sure. I would buy that one very skeptically. I don't think they sound the same at all, most likely, from what I've heard. Oh man, yeah, so you got a good deal on the LCD2C. Yeah, that's the way to go. I really like those headphones. I don't know what they did. I mean, they removed the phasers, I believe, so it restored them more to the old school, smoother Odyssey sound, but somehow they sound better than ever. So yeah, that's going to be really nice to have personally, not just for review, but I'm probably going to keep that one quite a while. 712 versus 599 for gaming. Probably the 599. 712. Actually, you know what? I think 712 might be better. I keep forgetting the regular K702 has kind of a strange soundstage where the middle is a little bit not there in terms of the directionality. So the 712 fixes that problem and it's probably better overall. Let's see, 501 or the K500 AKGs. No, I haven't tried any of those vintage ones. I also want to try a K400 at some point. I probably hate all of them. They probably have like zero bass, honestly. They probably do since they're older. I hesitate to say vintage, but I guess they kind of are by this point. AKG open backs. Let's see. You're trying to beat headphones with your planar, like the LCD3, their C-Flow, 350 to 450. That's real cheap. So hopefully that works out, because I'm not a fan of the M1060s. You guys already know. It pretty much needs to be modded to sound good at all. And there needs to be a planar in that price range that's actually decent. And that's not the one, out of the box at least. 58X. A lot of people want to see that one. Yeah, I want to hear those too. Apparently they're really not related to the 600 series drivers, so that should be pretty interesting. Let's see, HD600 sounds as good as an iPhone. Yeah, I think I saw that video just earlier today. HD600 sounds just as good out of an iPhone as into an amp. It depends on the source still. I mean, like if you plug it into, let's say, a laptop with an older sound card, that will probably sound a little different because it'll probably be noisy. But other than that, the HD600 does take well to higher end amplification, but unless you've got something really expensive, I haven't really experienced significant changes with it. Let's see. Does owning a lot of headphones make the hobby more mundane? Yeah, actually it really does. Over the years I've been doing this, and even when I wasn't reviewing, at this point, there are some times when I'm just like, I don't care anymore about headphones. I'm just going to buy something good and just exit. But I don't know. I get too many. You guys keep bugging me to make videos, so I guess I'm still here. But I still do enjoy it. I mean, sound has always been, one of my favorite things to explore. So I don't think I'll ever get tired of that part. But going through so many headphones, it's definitely very different than the average person's experience with the hobby because people are always sending stuff. Yeah, thanks. The model car collection is definitely something that is fun. It was almost complete, and I wanted to grab at least one or two more of my favorite cars ever. So that is fun to have around. ELA titanium are 49 pounds? How is that possible? I hope it's not broken. You should probably look into that carefully, because I don't know if that might be too good to be true. You missed my streams and reviews. Greetings from Poland. Oh, chest to you too. Let's see. What about the M1060C? I haven't heard that yet, actually. Does a 2C have enough bass for EDM? Actually, it's probably not going to have enough bass for me, but the good thing about Odysseys is their bass extension is amazing. It's not bumped up, but it's like a flat line, as you guys probably know. Or it would look like a flat line on a measurement graph. So, you know, if you add a little bit of EQ, you can give it as much bass as you want. And the total harmonic distortion is so low that there won't be a problem, really. What AKGs am I using now? Yeah, K553. Actually, nobody asked that. I actually just mentioned it earlier on my own. So yeah, it's K553 Pro. This is the K553 Pro Mark 1, which is the same thing as a K550 Mark 2. And recently they added a K550 Mark 3 with a removable cable, and then they renamed this the K550 Mark 2 with a removable cable in the US only. That's stupidest naming schemes. Don't even get me started on naming schemes for headphones. That's a whole conversation. Have I tried an HD25 open back? No, I've never heard of that modded open back. I'm not really big into modded headphones, honestly, except for maybe some of the ZMF stuff. But I got kind of sick of T50s from all of that. What do I think of the iSign LX? I have not tried that. I did try the LCD i4, and it sounded ridiculous in a good way. Because it's using the same kind of diaphragm material as the regular LCD4, apparently. No one understands us. We just love hearing different sound signatures. Yeah, well, that's part of it. I kind of got away from that eventually, and my variety of headphones is a combination of stuff that I enjoy, and especially with EQ, and stuff that I need to keep around for a reference to compare to other headphones. So it's not always a different sound signature, so it depends. Whenever I go to HeadFi to read about headphones, they're comparing different cables. Yeah. You know, HeadFi has gotten worse and worse and worse, and if Jude's watching, I'm sorry, Jude, but the community there just keeps repeating the same information. You know, crazy stuff like one of the stupidest things I read was that like the SD card you use makes a difference in the sound quality. Like, get out of here. What are you doing? You want to record your mixer through an audio interface. What's my audio interface pick? Honestly, I don't know a whole lot about audio interfaces. I just had to get something that worked. And I had a first-gen Focusrite Scarlett Solo for a long time to run this Rode NT1 XLR mic. And it's just the drivers are so unstable on it, and they just stopped updating it, so it was dumb. So I got rid of that, or actually I still have it, but I'm not using it. I'm using a Behringer right now, which is apparently more than good enough. Let's see, because it was on sale and I bought it because I couldn't resist. It's got 4 inputs and I only need 1 right now. I could do podcasting in person though in the future if I had people over for that. Do I like the MDR1000 XM2? I think I heard the original MDR1000X at Zee's once, and yeah, I thought it sounded really good actually. Maybe better than the Bose QC35, but I've never compared them back to back, but I definitely want to do that at some point if I ever get a chance. Discussion of the effect of different ear pads with the same set of cans would be interesting. Daconis, yeah, Dakoni pads to try on the HD800. Now that would be really, really interesting. I'll have to see if I can get a rep for Dakoni to do that. That would be really interesting, especially with the 800, because I know it's affected a lot by pads, I'm sure, since it's so positionally variant as it is. But yeah, pads make a really big difference. And that's why I tell people, if you're trying to upgrade pads for comfort, you need to think about the fact that the sound quality is probably going to be modified, sometimes in a really negative way. Something that gets overlooked a lot. Hi from Saudi Arabia. Wow, that's awesome. With IEMs, ear tips are huge. Yeah, I'm sure it's the same thing with IEMs. Let's see. Do I have a chance to compare my K550 versus the Mark III? Actually, the first revision of the K550 varied a lot from what I've read. I had one of the last K550s they made before they changed it to the 553 or the 550 Mark II, and that it seems to have been consistent since then. Like the other day, the other day at Guitar Center, I gave them another shot. I think it was the latest revision, and they really sound the same as the 553. So the only advantage really you'd be getting there is the removable cable. I think once they figured out that this sound, they fixed the sound, and they left it there, and all they're doing now is adding other features. Focusrite 2i4 second gen is much better. I'm sure that all the second gen Focusrites are way better. I think they're all plug and play too, which was my main problem. I don't need a 2i4 though. I really only needed a solo second gen, but I got a UMC 404 HD for $70 on sale. Show me a 4-input $70 interface. So I think it's pretty good so far. I mean, that's what you're hearing me through. So, and I didn't hear any white noise from the preamps yet, so it's pretty good. Hopefully it lasts though. I have doubts about that because of how cheap it is. What speakers do I have? I don't have any speaker monitors, but I do have a home theater in the other room behind me. I've got kind of like the Zeo special going on in there. It's kind of funny. I have a Denon S730H receiver. It's powering, oh man, I forgot the name of the subwoofer. Wow. The speakers, though, are ELAC B6s, the first one. The center is an ELAC C5, and the rears are Mica MB42Xs. And wow, it's the subwoofer is the BIC F12. That's what I have. And I also have Atmos speakers on top of the fronts for a 5.1.2. They are Pioneers. They're really cheap ones, but they work. Do I still like the K240DF? I'm honestly nowadays, no, not really. I mean, they're really clean in the mids and highs for being a vintage headphone, but they have no bass, just no bass, and they probably won't be able to have any even if you try to EQ that. But dynamics and punch are real good on those, really surprising. Keep in mind you need a massively powerful amp to run those. They are insanely difficult to drive. One of the hardest. Welcome back. Thank you. HE400i, HE400S are 180 pounds. Oh, big difference. Don't get the 400S. The 400i is way better. They're totally different headphones. I did a review on the 400S a long time ago. I don't know how I haven't done one on the 400i yet. I definitely need to do that because I know they're real good. They're just a little bright for me. Other than that, they're pretty good, except that build quality issue that they've had. What are the things I prefer in a planar closed back? Well, I want everything from a planar open back if I could. You know, the awesome bass depth. I still want the soundstage. You know, things that are hard for a closed back headphone to do. That's what I want. And I hardly ever get satisfied by that. Closed back headphones are very difficult to do because of the resonances, of course, as you probably already know. Scarlett versus Claret interface? I've never even heard of that. Have I tried any Stax headphones? Yeah, actually I've heard the 009 and the 007. At Zee's place, I think I tried an L700, an L500 or whatever. I like the 009, but the problem is the bass trails off a lot. It's more like, it's not like they're not bright. They're just bass light. So like the mids and the highs sound really good to me, maybe a little bit, just a little bit on the bright side. Real clean, super clean, like too light maybe. Lightweight as in like the whole sound is just like, it's not, you can't grasp it. Dynamics have more, it's really hard to describe what A-stats sound like, but they definitely have a different tone than other headphones in their own way. But the 009 is world-class on its detail retrieval, but I don't think the bass catches up. However, I would love to get an 009 in and then boost the bass and see what happens. That would be hilarious. I'd be scared of breaking the driver, though. Let's see. Return from hiatus. That's what it was. I've been out of the game here basically for like 9 months now or something. Do I like the HD800s? Yeah, go watch my part 2 review of those from an owner's perspective to give you a better idea of what it's like to actually own one. I still have them, they're just not here right now. 4XX or 400i. I have not used those side by side, but they are ridiculously similar as far as I know. Yeah. Oh yeah, the 4XX have the better yoke. Yep, that's true. Behringer preamps are really good. SM7B. Really, you can actually run an SM7B through this thing. I know that's a very hard microphone to drive. But yeah, when you crank the preamps up, there's gonna be hiss. Actually, you know what? I'll crank a dead preamp up so you can see what it sounds like at 100% for a second here. Ready? So that's what happens. Of course, no one really runs the pre's at 100, so that probably will never happen to you. HD6 series are the pad roller's worst enemy in terms of sound preservation. Yes, don't roll the pads on an HD600. Super chat, Gurneel Kang. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Metal, I love you, man. Never leave us again. Yeah, I'll try not to. Hopefully this time around I'll never get my wrist destroyed a second time, since I'm not really playing games anymore, which is how I heard it in the first place. What IEMs do I use on the go? I don't. Actually, that's not true. I have, you know what's funny? I have my Monks hooked up to I have my Monks hooked up to the Google Pixel Type-C adapter right now. That's like the only thing I would use on the go at the moment. Because mainly I don't want to go to the gym wearing something expensive. Let's see. Do I like the 650? Yeah, of course. Definitely. I mean, people I like Sennheisers like those so much that people have said I'm like a 100% fanboy of that brand, which is not really true. There's plenty of stuff they make that I don't like as well. Is there a 58X review in the future? Yeah, if someone sends me one. Do I know anyone who's stupid enough to buy an HD820? I need to listen to those first, but I know that I don't understand what happened with the frequency response, and Axel Grell sounds like he's an apologist on, if that's even the right word, for the measurements. It's like, oh yeah, we had to have a 10 dB dip at 300 hertz, and that's totally fine. Craziness. Never heard the Aeon closed. Yeah, I mentioned those in, which review was it? I mentioned those. Oh, I think I mentioned those in the ZMF Atticus and Icon review. That's what I did as a comparison. They're very technically good on the frequency response, but there's problems with the bass dynamics and just dynamics in general. They don't really have much dynamics. That's the problem. I'm one of your favorite YouTubers. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it. You know, it's been so long since I've sat at this desk, and it still feels a little weird, but at the same time it doesn't, because it's still got you guys. Have I delved into other amps, or am I still with the Magni 3? At the moment, I still am with the Magni 3, but I have tried some crazy tube amps, which I talked about in my ZMF Atticus Icon review. I can't even remember the name right now. Felix Audio Elise, or there was a successor to the Felix Audio Elise I tried once, which was pretty awesome, but I still don't think the difference is worth thousands of dollars. Plans with the channel. Yeah, I'm pretty much just going to come back. Actually, you know what? I had some questions to ask you guys, but your questions just keep coming. All right, you know what? Here, let me ask, now that we have a bunch of people here, I want to get some input from you guys, and I'm going to return to looking at the questions again. First of all, for streaming, I know you guys want these Q&As to continue, don't you? I'm pretty sure you do. And if you do, let me know what time works best, because I know I was looking at my analytics, and about 34% of people are apparently viewing in the US, and then I've got the next biggest categories in the UK, about 9%. So I'm going to try to target those time zones with some time in the middle of the day like now. I'm hoping to get maybe a stream schedule together, because, you know, I just do things randomly now, which is not good. So hopefully there's a better time for you guys. Maybe this time works. I don't know. Yeah, weekends. That's what I was thinking too. If anyone else thinks weekends, yeah, 8 p.m. That's right. 5 hours ahead, right? Yeah, 5 hours ahead. Then I have to also make sure that 3 hours behind me in California can also, you know, listen in at a decent time. So I'm thinking, you know, Saturdays or Sundays is probably best, obviously. Oh yeah, you guys are chilling out before sleep. Let's see. Also, I wanted to ask, you guys interested in live reviews? Because I was thinking about doing that instead of just, because I think it would be really cool to go through all the categories of, you know, the stuff I usually cover: bass, mids, treble, soundstage, build quality, all that stuff. But but do it live so that right afterward, I can tackle questions that people have. But first listening impressions, good point. Forgot about that. I probably should do that. Like when I first get a headphone, I'll just go live whenever I get it and just shoot, what I'm hearing. I could totally do that. That would be fun. I know other people do that a lot. Somehow that had completely skipped my mind. So I'll consider doing that. I was going to do a full live review instead. It's because sometimes it's a little easier for me. I'm pretty lazy on editing videos. Honestly, that tends to happen. But if you want to pre-record, that's good too. Unboxing first impression. Okay. Headphone meetings live. Okay. Welcome back. Thanks. Okay, I'll consider that. Then the last thing I wanted to ask you guys, what do you think about, I was thinking about doing this a while ago. I don't know why I didn't do it. I should probably talk about the sound quality first, since that's what you guys care about, not the build quality and a bunch of other stuff, and comfort. I was time coding the videos before so that you guys could skip to it. But if you think I should probably move the sound quality description first in the video, I can do that too. So we'll get some input on that. Everything's still going to be there. I'm just reordering the categories. I'm not going to skip them. That's what I'm saying. Let's see. Problem with live reviews, it just devolves into questions about other headphones. Yes, good point. First impressions live, though, seems to be what the chat thinks is good. Okay. Leave sound quality and soundstage where it is later. As long as the timestamps are in the description, doesn't matter. Okay. All right, I might keep it the way it is then. All right, that makes sense, because that's usually where I put it. Toward the end, bass, mids, treble, soundstage, and then I do some kind of conclusion there. Comfort is most important. Build quality and comfort are currently the first two things I talk about. Okay. All right. So let's see, what were people asking? Go ahead and ask away again. I think I lost my place in the chat. There's just so much going on here. What mid-fi cans do I recommend based on price to value? Well, it's not even just that. It just depends on what you're looking for. Giving recommendations, I will say giving recommendations to people is very difficult. Giving recommendations to people is like the hardest thing, because everybody wants a different sound signature, is what it seems like. So I need more background on like what you have and what you like about what you have, and then if there's one thing I'll ask you guys to do is give me what you have and what you like about what you have, and then ask for the recommendation. That usually is way more accurate then. So let's see, 80s style. Make sure I do the bass first. Yes, I will do the bass first when doing the sound quality review. 80s style headphone tuning. What do you mean? Like, are you talking about MDR 7506, or are you talking about like just 80s vintage headphones? Or I'm not sure what you mean on that. K553, K550 Mark II. Yeah, there's good. I definitely lost my place. Yes, I did. I do have a CD collection, actually, that I'm slowly building. Just stuff that I've listened to a lot in high school and whatever, that I finally want to buy and have in an uncompressed CD format. Comfort is nearly as comfortable, nearly as important. Yeah, okay, as sound quality. Yeah, I'm gonna keep all the categories. I was just wondering if I wanted to change them around. Okay, based off the planers, do I prefer closed or open? Oh, definitely open. Apparently, it's very difficult to make a closed planer in particular too. From people who I've talked to who make headphones, closed planer is very difficult. The resonances involved are crazy. So, people making closed planers, that's impressive if it's going to sound really good. Hobbies outside of audio. I still play guitar, actually. I have a Mesa Boogie Tube amp that I bought sometime late last year, I think it was. And that's been awesome. I used to do guitar covers. If you really look back on the channel, you'll find a couple. That's so old. The sound signature we tend to aim for before versus now. What do I prefer? I definitely prefer the Harman response, as you guys already know, and that's very recent research within the last couple of years. The old school 80s standard, I think maybe you're talking about the German, what is it, the IRT standard, something like that, that the 240DF was supposedly targeting. That's a very clinical and bright sounding standard to me. So I definitely like the Harman response. But I'm not a professional studio engineer. I'm more just looking for music enjoyment, and that's probably why. Is the DT880 the reference headphone under $200? I mean, since it's hard to find Sennheisers that are, unless you buy them used, and anywhere near that price, I think DT880 is a pretty good bet as probably the best reference headphone under $200. It's a good way of putting that. Headphone Hall of Fame. I wish I could keep as many Hall of Fame headphones as Tile does. That would be nice. All right, what we got here? If I could design my own headphones, what would they look like? What size drivers? Driver size doesn't matter as much as the driver design. Although people tend to think that when they see 50mm driver, it must be good. Not always. If I could design my own headphones, give me an HD800 with the sound of an LCD4. There. That'll do it. $100 versus $10,000 DAC blind test. Yeah, you want to send me those? I wish I could do that. That would actually be very fun. I've never been part of a blind test on that. Do I prefer the T1 first generation or the second generation? I haven't heard the second, actually, but I've heard it's slightly darker, and I hope so because, man, the first generation was super bright in some narrow regions. I actually reviewed it. If you go back, you'll see it on the channel. Do I listen to Cell Dweller and Pendulum? I'm not as much into that. As far as EDM, I'm leaning more towards trance and hardstyle than whatever that is. I don't even remember what genre you call that. What's your current mic? This is a Rode NT1, supposedly the 2014 edition. The NT1A is the silver one, which is brighter. This one has a more neutral curve and a really, really low self noise. So that's mainly why I bought it. The AKG P220 I had for a little while was just too noisy, hiss wise. It wasn't the preamp, it was the mic. I'm switching to Roku. Phone battery's dying. Yeah, sorry. Mesa dual rectifier. I wish it was a dual rectifier. It's a dual caliber DC5 actually. I want a rectifier, although I don't want to spend money on a dual. I'll probably get a single rectifier. That's what I'm thinking of next. That's got the creaminess, the power, the single rectifier and the dual rectifier. Just that guitar tone is legendary, and I always wanted to try it for myself at home. And the single recs are somewhat affordable on Craigslist now. I just got to make sure that they're actually working when I buy one, because tube amps are flaky sometimes. Is planar bass really different from dynamic bass? In my experience, yes, but it doesn't really have to be. Part of the reason why planar bass is different is because the driver is massive, I think, and compared to dynamics, and that's part of the reason why it can dig so low. But the planars tend to fall apart in the treble, but there's been a lot of work done lately to fix that. And that's kind of a lot of what Odyssey has done. Although Hi-Fi Man has done an amazing job too. I heard the HE1000 not too long ago, and its treble is unbelievable for a planar, considering where Odyssey started with the original LCD2, which was just pretty dark and it's not so defined in the treble. Planars have come a long way, but the bass usually is, digs very deep. That's normally the way planars are. Some of them have some dynamic compression problems in the bass. Depends on the model. But those are kind of what I think of when I think of planar bass. Can I play audio on a guitar amp? You could, but they're not really designed for that because usually guitar amps are hooked up to guitar speakers, which in my case, I have a 12-inch Celestion Vintage 30, if any of you guys actually play. And the frequency response on guitar speakers is real bad. It's like 80 or 100 hertz to like 6K. So you wouldn't want to play audio on a guitar amp. Well, not going to sound very good. They're not designed to be clean. They're designed to break up and distort. Pretty much the exact opposite, interestingly enough, compared to headphone amps and hi-fi amps. The Hall of Shame. That I could do. I could come up with a list for the Hall of Shame. That I could. 58X is better than the DT880 for less than $200. I guess I'll have to decide on that when I review a 58X or 58X or whatever you guys call it. Talking about closed planers, how do I feel about the Argon Mark III? Argon Mark III. Which one did I review? Was it the Mark II or the Mark III? I think it was the Mark II. So I haven't really heard the Mark III yet, although I will say now, and I think I'm allowed to say this, that I had some input on, at least measurement-wise, what I wanted to see the Mark III turn into. But I haven't actually heard it yet, because I think that was around the time that I was like iffy on whether I was going to keep reviewing this on my wrist, and finally got it fixed. So I'll have to ask the guy behind the Argons again about that, who I also met in person at one point. Any thoughts on the new guy in Interfidelity? Garbage. There's no other word to describe that. He's like a lifestyle reviewer for audio, and his articles are just stupid. All they do is they talk about the experience of the sound and blah, blah, blah. There's no measurements. There's no specifics on the frequencies that are affected and where the peaks are and where the valleys are and what the speed is and what the detail is and what the sounds are. There's none. It's just so vague, and everything I read from him is absolutely useless for me. That's part of the reason why I started this channel, is because I found there are way too many audio reviews on the internet that are just not specific enough. And so I took it upon myself to fix that. And the new guide Interfidelity is not carrying on what Tile tried to do with his reviewing, which is unfortunate, because I don't want to be the one who replaces Tile. That's too much work. Although I can't be anyway, since it's up to him. All right. Anyway, the Klipsch HP3. I think I only heard it briefly. It was real grainy. Not a big fan, honestly. And sort of bright and grainy at the same time. Not good. HD800 with the sound of the LCD4 with the price of a $599. Yeah, I wish. I really hope that the LCD4 sound quality. Here's what I'm thinking would be really nice for the future is the Summit 5 today needs to become, accessible. That price needs to move from $4,000 to $6,000 down to like the $300 range. And I think eventually over time with better, manufacturing processes that might happen. That's kind of like my dream. Get that kind of sound in the hands of the average consumer with prices that they can afford would be amazing. It's kind of where the LCD2C is right now. It's bringing an incredible sound quality for the price. And I hope that just keeps going that way. Let's see. LCD2C or DT99, 1990. That's a good question, because I know a lot of people are looking at both of those, and when they're thinking about that price range, I'm going to go with the 2C because I really like the Odyssey house sound. But I don't think there's much wrong with the DT1990. It's a really good headphone. It's just not my style. That's what I wanted to emphasize about that review. Sorry. New LCDX sounds great. Yeah, I hope they do now after the 2016 driver revisions that they did to the Odysseys. Let's see. I bought a AKG K702. Waiting for it to be delivered as my first audiophile headphone. Can you describe the sound signature if you listen to the Japanese? There's a Japanese version of it? I thought it was made in China still. But the 702, just look at my review of the K701 and Q701. I don't know if I described sound back then the way I do now. Probably not, but mainly the AKGs they have a bit of a presence bump in 2 to 2.5K in the mids. Which throws off the sound signature a little bit and gives them a really unique tone. I think they're really cool. They have a really wide sound stage too. They're kind of larger than life, sometimes wider than necessarily the recording originally was. Very interesting headphone to listen to. Kind of like a guilty pleasure headphone for me, but not necessarily the most accurate ever. Thoughts on balanced audio? Honestly, to me, other than the enormous amount of power that's imparted on the headphone using balanced connections, I'm probably not going to care much about the sound quality gains necessarily, but I haven't done a lot of A/B. I'm just guessing here, but I do know that the technology gives you a lot more power on hand. Okay, in Italy I can find a DT880, DT990 for around €110. Man, I wish the prices... I've heard that the biodynamics are so much cheaper in the EU. I guess that really is true. They bought the 990 because people consider the 880 boring. It's fun to EQ the crap out of the 990. Yeah. Yeah, well, I would probably still start with an 880 though, because the 990's treble is just piercing. It's crazy. 880 is slightly more laid back, so it's actually somewhat listenable as it is. Let's see. Did I listen to the 400i? How do they compare to the 400s? They do nothing alike, which I was saying earlier. The 400s is way grainy. I'm not really a big fan of it. The 400i is much cleaner. That's a really good headphone. And if you have the 4XX, the build quality is improved. Let's see. Have I heard the Ether C Flow? Yeah. Yeah, I have actually. At Meets and Zee's model. The C Flow is, I don't hate it as much as it seems like everyone else does, or loves. It's either love or hate. I don't think there is an in-between for the Ether C Flow. I think it sounds pretty good, but there are some major flaws that people will be really annoyed by in the sound signature. I think there's a big dip in the low mids, which is weird. But I thought the treble was surprisingly clean for a closed back. But the value, I think in general, the value for price of Mr. Speaker's headphones is kind of questionable. I wouldn't buy them new. And plus, the Aeon Flow closed actually has a more accurate frequency response than the Ether C Flow does. I would need to have them side by side again, but that's kind of a personal thing. So I don't really know if I can recommend either one of them necessarily. Portable amps. Oppo HA2, X-Duo, XD05. I've seen that first one. The HA2 SE I've heard. I think it was surprisingly powerful. I think the Focal Clear I listened to was being powered by an HA2 SE, which was crazy. So I would say they're probably decent. Oppo makes nice looking stuff too. Come on. Favorite Metalocalypse character? Sadly, never seen that. Get the Mark IV Mesa Boogie. Lamb of God recorded with that. That is true. They did. The Mark series amps are way expensive. If you think the dual rectifiers are expensive used, you should look at what the Mark amps go for. Jeez. I wish. Those are crazy good amps though, but unless I'm in a band, I'm just a hobbyist. And so affording that's real crazy. But I would love to try one. Let's see. M100 with stock pads with the M70X sound. With the price of a Shangri-La, going the absolute opposite direction. Oh man, now it's like the worst headphone possible. Odyssey Mobius thoughts. Have not heard one yet. I'm really hoping I get my hands on those though, because they seem to be a really, really interesting product. Making a gaming-oriented headphone from a major planar brand is really intriguing to me, and I hope that those succeed, because there are far too many really crappy gaming headsets. I would know because I used to review them myself, because I was curious about that before I got into the serious audiophile headphones. Let's see, have I gotten a chance to listen to the Talos 2? No, not yet. Although Kinex has one, so hopefully I'll be able to soon. Gustard. I've heard of Gustard, but I don't know much about them. What's my next headphone review? Probably the LCD2C. However, I might do the Arvana Live before that. That one's kind of been sitting around for a while. That's a great headphone, actually. All the hype around the Creative Arvana Live 1 is very well deserved. Mezzi 99 Neo or Classics. I don't like either of those. Not with the new pads. You can see my review of the 99 Classics on the channel. Orange 1x12 with a tiny terror. Yeah, I've heard those are really fun. Isn't Orange has got that like warm upper bass tone to their cabs too, which is really interesting. Didn't realize MKBHD worked at Headfire. Oh man, that's a great one. I'm gonna have to repeat that now. Oh my god. MKBHD works at Headfire. That's the best. 1990 or the HD660. That's getting asked a lot too. I don't think the 660S is a good value. That's the biggest problem with it. You're not gaining much over the 600 or 650, and it's much more expensive. So until it comes down in price, I just wouldn't get it at all. The 650 to the 660S, you're not going to be impressed. It's not that different. The 1990 is pretty different. And if you want to try to upgrade, quote unquote, from a 650, you can try it, but it's going to be a lot brighter. So it's not going to sound similar. So just keep that in mind. Let's see. DMS's recent B&W review was brutal. I have not seen that yet. I'm back. Am I all right? Yes. I was talking about it earlier. I had to get a wrist surgery because too many gaming years, too much gaming, too many gaming. Wow, I'm going crazy. Too much gaming so many years ago, and it ended up finally catching up to me, and I couldn't really use a mouse or keyboard properly much anymore, so I had to do something about it. And that whole process was months and months. So I needed to get off of YouTube and focus on real life for a while. But it looks like I'm going to be able to come back now. Sold all my full-size headphones after hearing the Campfire Audio Andromeda. Oh man, that is such a popular headphone, or IEM I should say. I have not had a chance to hear it yet, but I really want to because every single person I talk to who has an Andro loves that thing. A20H. What's an A20H? Am I going crazy? Have I totally missed a headphone? It's very unusual that I don't know what a headphone is by the model name. What's an A20H? Someone fill me in. Have I tried auditioning vintage headphones? I don't know who Mr. Tech Agent is. I have a, what is it? A 240 Sextet actually back there, and it's awful. Not a fan of it. It's an MP. Mid production for those who don't know. There's early, mid, and late, and I don't know, it's real bright. The bass is real bloomy. I mean, it's not gonna sound great, but because it's vintage, but there are some decent vintage headphones. Apparently that's not one of them though. I also tried a Yamaha planer on-ear, I think, that Ishka had. He's one of the members of the headphone community who does a lot of reviews. I think he was at Verum Sonus, and that was actually surprisingly decent, but again, the bass rolled off a lot. But it was real smooth, just not super detailed. So that's fun. I think vintage headphones are fun, but I don't think that there's necessarily all vintage headphones are way better than newer ones, which, you know, some people have the opinion of. I think there's been a lot of progress. I don't think it's digressed over the years, even though sound is a slow thing to, you know, develop, and a slow industry to improve significantly. What headphone would cause me to die of shame when spotted with in public? Literally any Beats, of course. I actually would not be shamed by wearing a Bose though. So there are some really good Bose noise canceling headphones now. The QC35 is superb actually for what it is. Alright, let's see. Just got my HD600 thanks to my reviews. So how do you like them? You just said that you have them and it's your intro to audiophile level headphones. Hopefully you're enjoying them as much as I did. They amazed me the first time I heard the HD600. Everybody in this hobby should hear an HD600 at some point. They are super important to the hobby. I really like them. Let's see. 770 Pros are only 103 pounds. Wow. I think they're more expensive than that in US dollars over here after the conversion still. You guys in the EU are getting really good deals on those biodynamics. I can see why they're popular. LCD is are LCDs comfortable enough for long-term listening sessions? You've heard someone was already uncomfortable after one song. Yes, Odysseys can be heavy. Now, that's more of a problem for some of the older designs. The Odyssey LCD2C has a different kind of headband. I think they're all moving toward a different kind of headband where, and they're definitely, and some of them are now, you know, plastic instead of wood. So they're trying to reduce the weight. They're definitely doing a good job with that. Planers are heavy because of the magnets. That's just kind of how they are. But there's been some progress on that. But they're still heavier than most headphones. I think the most important thing with planers is you really have to be careful about distributing the weight well. And, you know, Odyssey's getting better at that. But yeah, that's a legitimate concern. Odyssey LCDs are very heavy in general. Open headphone under $100. Let's see. Wow, that's difficult to come up with. Maybe the SHP 9500, because I mean that's better than the 240 Studio overall, perhaps. I don't know. Apparently, those were getting discontinued or something. I really hope not, because I'm not a big fan of them. But for under $100, I can't really think of a significantly better open back. Definitely not Grado. Please don't say Grado. Let's see. Biodynamics are the only headphone that's cheaper in the EU. Oh, that sucks. I would have thought Sennheisers would be too, though. It's still German. Have I heard the ADX 5000? I tried it briefly at the Can Jam I went to. Definitely sounded like it was a lot more technically proficient than the 82,000 or 2000X in some ways. So I think it's good, but I didn't get a really long impression, so that's just kind of a grain of salt first impression for you of that thing. Of course, it's very expensive, so you'd be gambling a lot of money on buying that. If only Audio Technica sent out their winged open backs to reviewers, but I have never seen them do that. They don't seem to want to do that very much. Are there Bluetooth headphones I would recommend, or would I never go wireless? At my desk, I'm never going to go wireless, but if I had to go wireless, it would probably be either the QC35 or the MDR1000X, of course. I think those two are still the top. Closed back, over ears, wireless. They just also happen to be noise canceling, perhaps. Thoughts on the Aeon Open? I like the Aeon Open. I was surprised. It's different than the 2C. It's got a different tuning, but I was very surprised. It sounded a lot more detailed than the Aeon Closed, which was very good. So it's definitely a headphone to think about. I want to review one. I'll have to talk to Dan about that, because that should be fun. You have a KRK Rocket 6 and a 10-inch sub. They have a 10-inch sub to go with those? Man, that's awesome. You're looking for something better. I don't know a lot about speaker monitors. I do know that the JBL LSR 305s are very popular, and I've heard them myself. They sounded like the most neutral, more so than KRKs in a Guitar Center room with music that I was familiar with. So, and it was a treated room, so it was actually a pretty decent audition. But I haven't tried a lot of different brands. Just of the stuff I've tried, I think the JBLs were real good. So, something to consider. Assuming my amp and DAC suddenly break, what would I buy now? Probably a topping D30 and A30 combo. I'm thinking about grabbing one of those eventually, because the measurements on them are really positive, and I want to see how that sounds. I want to see if that translates to anything better on the headphones themselves. You guys probably have seen ASR, what's that, Audio Science something review, that forum. The guy measures all the amps and DACs with really high-end equipment, and it never lies. And a lot of the time, the stuff that Shit Audio puts out is crap, ironically, compared to the other stuff he tests, like the topping, whatever brand this topping is. I don't know what they're doing with their DAC and amp, but it's measuring well. I don't know if that is going to make it sound good, though. Are you crazy for preferring the X00 mids over the 600/660S? Not really. I mean, the X00 is such a blast to listen to. I wish I had one, actually, because it's like some of the most fun you can have in a closed back. So good, even though it's not really closed back. It leaks a lot. It has a back on it, but it doesn't isolate that well. You have the Emu Teague and you prefer it over the Sennheiser, which is boring. Yeah, I can totally see that. The Sennheisers are quite boring. They're relatively neutral in my ears, much more so than many other headphones on the whole market, especially in the mids and highs. But that doesn't make them particularly interesting, does it, as you've already discovered? So that's not that unusual. Can't wait to hear my thoughts on the Cal. Yeah, the Cal, the Creative Arvana Live 1, so good. It really is like a cheap version of the X00. That's why I really like it. What's my favorite closed back? I'm wearing it. Not of all time, but within the 200 and under price bracket, I think the AKG K553 is superb in terms of accuracy compared to, at least by Harman Response standards. Watch my video on neutrality. I like that. I also really like the SEMF Atticus. I know a lot of people prefer the Icon, but the Atticus was my kind of thing. It was so unique, but it had the most awesome soundstage, while still isolating reasonably well, which is just crazy, and that like almost never happens. Do I dislike the L700? I cannot remember what that sounded like. Actually, I thought it sounded bright on the stock pads that Zeos was running on them, which was a little odd. So I didn't think that would happen. Have I heard the iSign in-ear? No, just the LCD i4, which looks like an iSign, was way more expensive, and it sounded insanely good because it's using the same diaphragm material as the LCD4 full size. Will I be setting up a Patreon? I am not currently planning on Patreon because I really don't. I mean, what would I do on Patreon? That's the thing. Like, if you don't want, I don't want to make people pay for anything that I'm doing when it's, you know, I already have ads paying for stuff. I'm going to have a full-time job again soon, and I don't think I'm going to be making significantly more content and then exclude people, like 50% of, not 50%, but whatever, exclude most people from some content that you have to pay for. I'm not sure what I would do with a Patreon. Maybe if I got more ideas, maybe in the comments of this video. I mean, this is what, more than an hour in. I don't even know if people will see this, but if you hear me say this, let me know below, you know, after the stream ends, what you would even want to see on a Patreon, because I'm not really planning on doing that yet. Let's see. What do I listen to? Mainly it's a mixture of metal, like thrash, and I mean, that's not surprising, and mainly thrash related stuff, some hardcore, and then a lot of EDM at the same time. That's what I listen to for enjoyment. But when I'm reviewing a headphone, I run everything past it. I run classical, I run jazz, I'll also run metal and EDM, and it just so happens that metal and EDM are kind of like the opposite mastering. Like, metal tends to be very upper mid heavy, and EDM tends to be very V-shaped, very bassy and bright. So if a headphone can straddle the ground between those two genres, usually it can do any genre, and that's part of what I do about reviewing methodology. I probably should make a video about that. Let's see, what I picked in 1990 for €350. Man, that's cheap. That's pretty good. So probably. You turned down a chance to hear the HD800. Oh, come on. Why? Why would you do this? Have I heard the LCD XC? I have, and I'm not a fan. They just don't sound as refined as the open backs at all. I mean, that's not exactly surprising, is it? But, you know, I don't understand the LCD XCs though, because apparently the LCD2 closed back, which is the new one, is pretty decent, and so I'm not sure where the XCs fit in the lineup anymore. They're crazy expensive. They really don't live up to the price, honestly. It's too bad, because Odyssey makes some great headphones. That's not one of them. Thoughts about the Fostex T60? No, I still haven't heard that thing yet. SR80E build. M70X sound, 2 times the Shangri-La price. Man, it hurts. It hurts. We're coming up with the worst possible headphones now. HD 820, $40 gaming headset frequency response. I'm laughing because that's so true a lot of the way. There are some gaming headsets that probably measure better than that does. Like, for example, if you go to ratings.com without the A, you can see that that's true. I have not tried the 820s myself, so I will reserve judgment until I actually hear them, but it's not looking good right now. Have I tried the Amron wireless? No, not the wireless one, only the wired one. Yamaha HS7. I'm guessing that's one of the monitor speakers. I haven't tried that. Thoughts on Focal Clear? That was very good overall, but they had an annoying spike at 10K that was very narrow and aggressive, and it was weird. It sounded metallic when I listened to it. I'm sure that if I had had a chance to put some EQ on it, though, it might have been really good. But I haven't gotten a chance to hear those outside of a meet environment yet. I haven't tried the KSC75. Oh, man. Now that I thought you guys would never ask. I have to go dig them out now. Where did I put these things? So this is a common mod for the KSC75s, as you guys may have seen. It's pretty funny. This is a Parts Express headband, and you remove the KSC75s from their clips and clip them onto here. Maybe I should review this. Should I? Probably. Yeah, I bought the KSC 75s a long time ago because I had to have a pair of them because everyone raves about them, and yeah, sure enough, they are pretty great for the price. They are pretty great. I'll have to do a review on those, of course, at some point. Thanks for reminding me. I almost forgot I had those. T1 needs a long burn-in. No. You've tried a T1 with 600 hours and one with 2,500 hours, and that's a big difference. I would chalk that up more to differences between the units, because actually biodynamics tend to have a lot of variation from unit to unit, and it's not necessarily just burning. Super chat. I cannot read Chinese, sadly, but the next word is just Chrissy. Pick your poison. Beats by Dr. Dre or Skull Candy. Oh, that's difficult. I'm actually going to go with probably the Beats Solo 3 on that one. They're actually not awful. I can't think of a good Skull Candy at all off the top of my head by comparison. Let's see. Thoughts on stacks. I was talking about it a little bit earlier. I thought the SR-009 was amazingly detailed, for example, but it's pretty lean in the bass. And the way it presents music is very light and airy and doesn't have as much punch, maybe, as some dynamics. It's a weird sound to describe. But I really appreciate the amount of detail that Electrostats are able to bring to the table, but I'm not sure if their sound signatures are really for me, though. Customized your Bayer Custom Studio with Opeth, Typo Negative, and Ulver side plates. Nice. Nice. That's really cool. I'll just see a picture of that. Go ahead and tweet one at me. That sounds really cool. Will this be a VOD later? Yeah, I'm always having the streams automatically post. So if you want to watch the stream later, you can always do that. Let's see. Uncle got a Fidelio X2 of 120 pounds, brand new. Cheese. That's pretty good. If the AKG K702 China and the K550 Mark III, are the same price, which one would be better to get if I mainly listen to, violins and pianos and playing FPS? Good question. I would go with the 702 actually, because it has like a special sauce tuning for classical in particular. It's really amazing. Especially piano. Holy moly. The amount of beauty that the 702's overtones from like its presence bump, what that brings to piano is just superb. And so I would totally get that. And as far as playing first-person shooters, you're in luck because the soundstage is massive. And I used to use my K701 all the time when I was still playing Battlefield 2. So do that. This is the case where I'm going to recommend the 702 over the 550, because the 550 is more accurate sounding, but it's not very interesting, and also the soundstage is not as good because it's closed. So that's a negative on both effects for your uses here. So that's a big, please get the 702 as a recommendation for me on that one. First impressions videos on the Patreon. Live genre pairing reactions. That's not a bad idea. I was just going to live stream the first impressions on YouTube. I mean, I could restrict them. So that's the thing. I'm too nice. I feel like I don't want to restrict anything from you guys, and all the information should just be readily available for free. So that's what's becoming a problem for, me making a Patreon. Because I don't need the income from this. This is just a hobby for me. I just do this for you guys. So I don't really expect people to pay Patreon for it. Just watch the ads if you don't have an ad blocker, which is probably nobody. You're scared you wouldn't like the HD800. In fact, I thought the HD800 was amazing, but its sound signature is so bizarre when you first hear it, and you might hate it because of that. But you have to keep listening to hear its technical abilities that are really interesting and make it, really set it apart. That's the thing about the HD800. It's a journey. Like I said in my part 2 review, it's a journey of a headphone. When you buy it, your next step is rolling amps and rolling DACs and modding it and EQing it, and it just keeps going and going and going. When you buy an HD800, that's kind of what you're signing up for. you're gonna mess with everything to mess with the sound. That tends to be the case. There's some people who don't do that, but I found that that's generally what happens. Just the way it is. Thoughts on the Bayer Amaron? Not a fan. It's real grainy. The bass had no dynamics. It's so weird. Like, I almost don't believe that the same driver is in that as the DT 1990. Maybe the unit I got was real bad. I have no idea. But the one I reviewed was just awful. The DT 1990 was so much better. Top 3 open back headphones. Whatever. LCD4, number 1. That's my favorite headphone ever, if anyone asks me that. It's just awesome. Could probably give some impressions of that in here. I was supposed to do that because way earlier in the year I said I was going to do that. If you want to hear something about the LCD4, let me know now. When I get to it in the chat, I'll talk about it for a couple minutes. But yeah, LCD4, the other 2 best ones I've heard so far. It's tough to figure out if I should put the 009 in there or if I should. I'm going to say LCD4, Utopia, Sazvara in that order right now. It's stunning sound quality in those 3. Headphone that needs the least and the most EQ. That's a great one. The least EQ. Stuff that I would listen to with no EQ at all, or the least EQ. I'm going to have to say my Bang & Olufsen H6 and the K553. I can listen to both of those without any EQ and be pretty happy. Oh, and the X00, definitely that one too. Awesome headphone. And the most EQ, hilariously, the HD800 falls under the most EQ column. I need a lot to get that to where it needs to be, but it takes a lot of EQ well, which is what makes it really unique. And the Monk needs tons of EQ, and is surprising that it can take a decent amount of it too. Let's see. What do I think of the HD630 VB? Have not heard that, sadly. I always wanted to try that, though. It's very hard to find those. Thoughts on electrostatic versus planar? I was talking about this earlier. E-stats are, very lean sounding a lot of the time, or at least the Stax ones I've listened to are. And planars tend to be, they don't necessarily tend to be warm, but some of them tend to lack dynamics. So those are just stereotypes, though. There's exceptions to that, a lot of exceptions. Have I Kramer modded the 75? No, I didn't mod it at all. I just put it on a different headband, which allows me to, customize the clamp force, which changes the sound a lot. Although I really wanted to try putting Porta Pro drivers onto that headband. That would be pretty fun. Let's see. Would I recommend the LCD2C for gaming? I guess you'll find out because I'm getting one, and once I get it, I'll have a better idea of the soundstage. My friend bought Beats so he could reference what most morons would be listening to music on. Actually, it's funny that you say that because I've heard that a lot of studios, a lot of studio engineers actually have like iPod headphones or iPhone headphones. What do they even call those? Oh, just regular earpods, not the AirPods, regular earpods. They have earpods, they have Beats, they have Bose, and then they have really high-end reference stuff. And they also listen to their mixes in the car, because when you mix and master music, from what I'm told, I'm not an audio engineer like I said earlier, you want to listen to it on everything, especially the crap that's the most popular but may still be crap. And you want to make sure it sounds good on all of that. Or at least that's how some audio engineers approach it nowadays for popular music that they know is going to be played on people's earpods. So that's an interesting point. Did I hear the Utopia? Yeah, the Utopia is superb. It's just a little bit off from my preferred signature, but wow, it is. Like, the interesting thing about the Utopia and the Sazvara is those are the first headphones I've ever tried where they're so transparent that, and I was listening to like some classic rock on them, like Pink Floyd, I think it was at the meet, and they're so clean and so transparent that most of their ability is lost on purely the quality of the music mastering and mixing and nothing else. And that's how incredible those headphones are. They get to a level of cleanliness that it's more down to the music you listen to than anything else as a limiting factor on the kind of quality they're delivering. It is incredible. So that's what I have to say about the Utopia. It's legit. Oh crap, did I lose my place again? Why can't they have a better scroll? No, I got it. The Patreon, I don't have to cut off content. I can still throw everything on YouTube for everyone. Or for those of you who just want to throw a couple bucks at me. Now that is something I considered too, but again, I don't know. I don't know if I even want to. I could open it up as a donation only thing, but then people will probably complain like, we want more content though. I don't know. I could open it and just be like, give me whatever you think I deserve per month or something like that, or per video or whatever, and it can be whatever amount. I could do that, but I mean, only if you guys are open to that. I wasn't going to. That was not normally part of the plan. Sell gear I don't want with the help of Patreon. I usually handle that myself, or I would rather not buy and sell stuff. I would rather just have people give me one and send it back. Why are my walls so empty? Yeah, I'm not the decorative type, honestly. I like just empty walls. In fact, the other room behind me, the living room, the only thing that's hung up in there is sound foam around the walls, because it's got a home theater in there, and it was way too live of a room. I used to have sound foam in here. I should probably put some back in there. Let's see. Closest headset to a headphone is a Cloud 2. Yeah, that's a Techstar Pro 80 in disguise, pretty much. I have an Argon Mark III and Zee's T50 Shure pad combo as my only closed. The X00 or variants worth getting? Yeah, the X00 is really cool. But yeah, you're probably right. I don't think it's going to be as good of a soundstage, but it's very fun to listen to. Let's see. Any thoughts on Dakoni pads for HD600? Haven't tried those. Yeah, the OEM pads are really expensive on the HD600, but the only way to guarantee you're going to keep the same quality that the Sennheisers are capable of is to use the OEM pads. So that's just the way it is. But it's possible that Dakoni pads are good. I just haven't tried them. Let's see. I bought a 400i. I really like their sound, but they lack a little in bass. Are the 1060 better? No. Just grab Equalizer APO and Peace GUI and give them a kick in the pants in their bass region, and I'm sure they will respond very, very positively. If you like everything else about that headphone except for the bass, just EQ it a bit. That's generally the rule I do with EQ anyway. Prefer leaving headphones as stock as possible. Yeah, me too. Have I ever compared the 702 with the 712? Well, I've reviewed the 701/Q701, and then I've also reviewed the 712, so you could compare those reviews. But the biggest difference is that the mids are even more colored on the 712 than the 702. They've got a really weird dip. You can look at the interfidelity PDFs or use the Discord bot to plot those next to each other. It's pretty much the same. The difference is pretty much the graph differences there. And also the 712 soundstage doesn't have as much of the hole in the middle. It doesn't force music to be wide like the 702 does quite as much, I think. Best bass heavy headphone for someone coming from a 712. I still want to say X00 because it's awesome. Please wax lyrical about the LCD4. Okay, so here's the thing about the LCD4 that's awesome. So you guys know I like the Harman sounds, the Harman response. You know I like the warmth of it and that kind of thing. Now the LCD4 is the Odyssey house sound. So it's warm in the highs and it's got a flat bass measuring. And the thing about the LCD4 is that many people will not realize, because it's hard to get a pair of those to hear, is that they're probably, the treble on them is so clean that it sounds like an electrostat. But at the same time, they've got the warm character of the rest of the Odyssey line. So you gotta think, take an LCD2 and grab the treble quality of the 009, and holy moly, that's basically what the LCD4 is. It is amazing. And I love that thing. The only thing I did, I had a pair in, someone at CanJam was very generous and lent me one of their 2 LCD4s, because of course they have 2 of them. And he lent me that for a couple months. I took a really good listen to it, and it just absolutely blew me away. The treble is super clean, and it's got a little bit of a bump above 10K just in the air. So I had to turn that down a couple dB, and then because the bass is flat, I gave it a Harman bump, and that was it. that was the moment I was like, this is the best headphone, period, right now. It's incredible. It's really different. If you think the LC2 and 3 sound good, you have no idea how good the LC4 sounds. It is that much better. So that's the LCD4. And yeah, the soundstage is, of course, awesome too. I mean, it's not nearly as accurate as the HD800. It's a little different. I had a hard time trying to describe it, but it's still got a really good soundstage. But that is why I like it so much. Do I like it due to its bass performance, or is it superior overall? I think I answered that. It really is superior overall. Whoa. I think I skipped a couple of questions again. Okay, here we go. Do I still hate Grados? Even the high-end ones, yeah. Yeah, I actually heard a GS1000 once, and it was just not good. Not good. Way too expensive for the detail it was putting out. Not a fan. Fidelio X2s are on sale for 140 euros. That's pretty good. Although the Fidelio X2s are kind of a mixed bag. They're not the most detailed headphones, but they're fun in the bass. I never got a chance to review those, though. Fully. Do I like any Audio-Technica's lower-end open backs? I had the 8900X. I had never tried the 500 or the 700, though. But not really a fan of the 8900X. It falls a little too much behind in detail for what it's going for. Although if it's $150, it's okay. But I would rather get a Sennheiser 598 or something like that. That's why I'm iffy on the Audio-Technicas. Do I watch movies or TVs with headphones? And which headphones would I use for that? Sometimes, or actually I used to all the time until I built my home theater, which I was talking about earlier. And I would just use the EQ'd HD800 for it. That's what I was using. So basically my preferred sound signature. But I find that movies and TV are mixed warmer, a lot warmer than most music. They're mixed to a better, more accurate target, maybe. I don't know why, but that's just kind of what I've noticed. So even brighter headphones are not bad. So like the DT770 actually is pretty awesome for movies and TV. Something I keep forgetting to mention. That is true. When will I be getting a binaural mic implant and visiting the Harman reference room? Actually, I would love to do that. And I've talked to Sean Olive on Twitter about visiting Harman, and he said, hey, you know what, if you want to drop by, let me know. So I will certainly, if I get a chance to do that, I will definitely talk about it and document the visit, because that would be awesome. I'd love to be involved in hearing the Harman response with my own music in a perfectly calibrated room. That would be super great. One thing that was really cool was when I got my new Denon receiver, it has an automatic calibration that takes measurements of the speakers in the room and does a calibration on it. So that gives me another hint as to what it thinks is generally a reference sound, and I mostly agreed with it. So it seems like my ears are not that bad. In other words, the utopia is the utopia. Yeah, for what I was saying before. Indeed, indeed. Whoa. What is with the scroll bar? All right. I figured it out. Did I ever have long hair? Yeah, I did. I mean, everyone's seen the C615 review webcam, right? So yeah, I did used to. And then I had to go get a job, and my girlfriend at the time was like, yeah, you gotta fix this. So that changed. Are you as impressed with the Otor as I am? The Otor definitely sounded awesome, although I still think it was lacking a little bit of air detail. I don't know why ZMFs tend to have that problem for me. They just seem to not quite be there above 10K in terms of ultimate clarity. But wow. But other than that, Otor is very good. I never got a chance to review it, though. I kind of dropped off the map right about the time when Zach was trying to get the Otor review units circulating. So eventually, maybe I'll get a chance to review it. Hopefully, because Zach's a great guy. I love talking about his headphones and reviewing them. And I think his business is just superb. Although they're not perfect headphones, and they're very expensive because they're made individually. So just the nature of the beast. What do I think is a great all-rounder headphone for both portable and home use? See, I don't like to think about it that way, because when you do that, you're going to limit yourself ultimately, because you want an open back, a really good open back at home, and you just cannot use that portable. So my answer to that is, I don't think there is one. I would still rather have two headphones for that, at least. Let's see. What happened to the Double Zero headphones? Hype was high and they just disappeared. What, the X00? Or are you talking about something else? I don't know. The X00s are still awesome. How's my Acura? Actually, I am probably going to be selling it soon. I bought an Infiniti Q60 all-wheel drive in May, and which is basically, it was a 2014, so it's a G37 coupe, essentially. And it rocks. And so I still have the Acura, though, and I'm going to be selling it, in probably the next couple of months. Actually, I'm probably going to be giving it to my parents to kill, because it's got 190,000 miles on it. Still works great, but it's just old, and I don't want to drive that every day to work. But the Infiniti is so fun, so fast for what I need. It's way faster than I need. It's the reality. Do I ever sell my headphones, or do I do my hoarder? Do I just collect them? I don't want to answer that. No, I'm kidding. I try to sell stuff that I'm not going to need to keep around to compare to other stuff. So that's why I sell headphones. Like, for example, when I get my EL8 back from Joshua Velour, I'm going to be selling it because I don't think it's really quite a good enough reference point to compare to other stuff. But when I have things like the 660 and the HD800, I can't get rid of those, because there's such a good comparison point that people are used to, hearing, that I need to keep them around so I can compare them directly without guessing from, sound memory, which is very bad all the time, naturally. Main difference between the 7... Yeah, that's right. The pads are different between the 702 and the 712. I mentioned on the DT1990, don't use aftermarket ear pads. Yeah. Generally, as I was mentioning earlier in this live stream, using aftermarket ear pads tends to change the sound a lot. And so it could drastically negatively affect the sound, potentially. So that's why. 610 and TH900. Yeah, oh yeah, no. I like the X00 more than those, actually. Aftermarket earpads 660, yeah, same thing. I would not change the earpads on a Sennheiser 600 series. Did I watch Lords of Chaos? No, I haven't seen that. Is that a good movie that I should be watching? I've not seen that. K553 Mark II with removable cables sound the same as K553. Yes, as far as I know, same headphone. Audazee is made in USA from the USA manufacturer. Yeah, that is super rare. That makes Audazees expensive, and ZMFs. That is part of the reason why those are pricey. A friend of mine had an M100, didn't like it because thought it wasn't as good as people said. Gave him 380 Pros, and he really loved it, huh? Yeah, the 380s are very fun. They have a lot of bass too, but their highs are, they're okay in terms of detail. Not the best. So it depends on your sound signature preferences. Are electrostats leaner than something like the HD600? Yeah, they kind of sound lean, just in general. The HD600 is weird because it's got a mid-bass hump and it's got a strong sub-bass dip. So it's a little different, whereas the stacks just kind of taper off slowly, starting at kind of like the low mids, upper bass region. That's a little different of a curve. L700, L300 combo. I don't know. I'd have to listen to those for longer to tell you about that. I really only know about the 009, which I've had a little bit more experience with. But I haven't heard that much stacks in general. Have I tried many IEMs? No. I still haven't gotten into IEMs to a big degree yet. 598 SE, the same as the SR. Yeah, as far as I know, they should be the same headphone in terms of the sound. Do I think these sound demos make a good job converting the sound signature to our headphones? No. I don't think any recording of headphones is accurate. It's really here's my big gripe about Zee's sound demos. He doesn't keep the playlist consistent. If you don't keep the playlist consistent, you can't play all 50 to 100 of his sound demos, listen to the same part of the same song on all of them, and then compare, because that's what the only usefulness in sound demos and recording headphones is relative comparison. So if you don't have the same song or the same sound you're playing through them, there's no use to them at all, because they're relative comparison only. That's how I feel about sound demos. I really like them. Some people absolutely hate sound demos. I really like them, but they're only good if they're a relative comparison with the same sounds going through the headphone. Different headphones, I should say. Do I have measurements of my home theater at the listening position? No, but I have the Odyssey EQ app, not Odyssey, sorry, Denon multi-EQ app, and I haven't tried it yet, which is stupid because it cost me like $20 of my Google Play credit to buy the stupid thing. But if you want those, ask me again later or shoot me an email at my business email, and I'll see if I can collect that for you in case you're curious about that. In fact, I want to try that too. I just haven't done it yet. Wow. There really needs to be a better scrolling for this chat. I think I've said that a lot in the past. Okay, I found where I was. It's so annoying. Pre and post receiver compensation. Yeah. I think it'll have data like that once I do that. But nobody can answer my question. Can you suggest an open back headphone with punchy bass and impact in the $600 range? Sure. DT 1990 has great bass, actually. Very surprising for an open back. Let's give that one a shot if you don't mind the treble. 553 Mark II is on sale, $150. Great value. Buy it. If you're looking for a close back under $200, don't even think. Buy it. That's a good deal. Is the M60X really good? I don't think Ratings agrees at all with that. Take a look at the measurements on Ratings. It's got a really strange dip in the low mids that just looks bad. I haven't heard it yet though, but that is what I think of the measurements so far. Is the ELA Titanium any good? Take a look at what Joshua Valor said about that on his channel, and look at my comment as well to give you an idea. I don't think they're great, honestly, but I think it's hard to make a really good closed planar. So let's see. Did you ever hear the SR850? Yeah, briefly, I think I did. I think it sounds more like a 668B, so it's pretty bright and like mid-bassy at the same time. I guess it could compete with the 240 and the SHP. It's just a different sound signature. Have I played around with the AudioQuest Dragonfly? No, but I'm aware of it. I think one of my friends had one at some point, but that was a long time ago. Oh man, did I lose my place again? Yeah, I did. 1 second. Okay, here we are. Good point, resound. You see sound demos, yeah. Sound demos are kind of like an EQ for your current headphones. Yeah, basically, because you're listening through two colorations, actually three. You've got the headphones coloration, the original ones that are being recorded, the mic's coloration, then you've got your headphones coloration. So you definitely cannot just be like, oh, a headphone sounds like this when you put it through a sound demo. It's only a relative comparison. That's the important thing to keep in mind about that. Difference between the X00 Ebony versus Mahogany. Headfi has measurements on that. I haven't directly compared them, but I think the Ebony is the best overall from pretty much everyone has told me that. But they're more similar than they are to the Purple Heart, which is a weird thing with a ton of bass and just hazy highs. I was not a fan of the Purple Heart. If you can get the Ebony, but you know, if it's too much more money, Mahogany is more than good enough, is what I say. His recording jig is weird for the Zeo sound demos, pair of Omni mics and a yoga block. Yeah, it's not exactly the proper, you know, coupling to use for something like that, of course. Yeah, I am doing better. I had wrist surgery about a week and a half ago because the problem with my wrist kept getting worse. That's why I was gone for so long, and finally I'm solving it. And I think it's pretty good now. I'm still recovering, but most of the way there now. That's why I'm on, finally. Yeah, I don't know why Zeus doesn't keep the songs consistent. It's bad. Yeah, I was hoping somebody would mention Sonic Sense Pro Audio. That was probably one of the coolest original things I heard. I wish that they would continue to make those because, you know, every time I show that to people in the headphone community, they're like, this is stupid. You can't use this. And I'm like, why? It's hearing all those relative comparisons And then combining that using with inner fidelities measurements is so powerful at understanding what the frequency responses can correlate to in terms of the sound. I think that's really helpful. Really, Zee's DT1990 demo has no sound? That's horrible. AC kicked on. It's humid outside today. Amp / DAC recommendations, $500 to $1,000 range. I'm not the person to ask about that. Are the B&O H6 2nd gen still my favorite closed? They're my favorite for the office closed. I still have an A900X, that's the closed back, not the AD900X. I have the, obviously this, the K553, which is a more technically good headphone than the H6. It's just not as fun. So they're not necessarily my favorite closed, but they are very fun to listen to for the office. Let's see. O-Tour through blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, the O-Tour probably does respond to amps. I wouldn't be surprised. It's pretty high-end. If I buy a gaming headset, can I be an audiophile because of the similar sound to an 820? You guys are killing me with these jokes. Yeah, I definitely want to hear the 820. It's going to be hard to get a hold of those, but we'll see. Do I have an opinion on the R2R11? No, I don't really care much about DACs and amps to that degree. Have I heard the Samson Z55? No. Sure, SRH 840s? No, very briefly. I used to own a 440 though, but not the 840. 58X has pretty good bass and it's an open back. Yeah, I've heard that. Tried Super Lux. No, actually, interestingly, I haven't. Although supposedly the SR850 Samson is a rebrand of the Super Lux 668B. Wow, we are already an hour and 3/4 in, and I hadn't even realized. We do another 15 minutes or so. I want to have a good 2-hour session here with you guys since I've been gone for so long. All right, let's see. Anything above the shoulder does not count as long hair. Good point. Then I guess I've never had long hair. Oh, that sounds cool. Oh, Gaga's music video. That's cool. All right, I might have to check out that movie. Lords of Chaos, apparently. Have I heard the D2000? Yeah, it is similar sounding to the X00 in some ways. It's kind of a bargain if you can find one used. They're becoming more and more rare, I think, since they've been out of production for so long now. It's kind of like a budget way to get an X00's sound. How do I get a 58X Jubilee? No, did I get one? No, not yet. I know, everyone is asking about that now. Please inbox me if you want to send a 58X to me. Because it seems like that's the main question I'm getting this whole live chat session. Z sound demos also need to maintain the same volume. Yes, volume mash comparison is ridiculously important as well. That gets underplayed too much. 58X doesn't have the refinement of its older siblings. Yes, I've heard that too. It's not really the same driver. Would I consider trying a dynamic microphone? Yes, I mean, I want to try an SM7B at some point. They're just real pricey. I also want an SM57 because I want to be able to mic up my guitar stuff. Really love the LCD3. Where do I go from there? LCD4. It's that simple. You're going to have to save up a lot of money, but the LCD4 is a lot better than the LCD3. That's how good it is. Can I get a shout out? Sure, you're the only person who's asked. So Joey King 16, hello. Oh boy, did I lose my place again? There we go. Do I use the Shure 440s? Actually, I sold them to a fellow viewer not too long ago because I didn't really use them. That's right, I have 380s still. But for monitoring, usually I just use these K553s now, so I didn't really have a use for the 440s anymore. MDR1A any good? They were very V-shaped when I heard them. That's all I can say. I don't really have any specific impressions yet. About to go now. Okay, take care. Yep, I've been recovering quickly so far. It's looking good. Thanks. Trapped on an island. I have to choose between the 820 and a harmonica. You guys, You guys need to make some more memes for the HD820 and post them to r/headphones or something. This is getting hilarious. Does the X00? But I didn't answer the question, did I? I think I'll take the 820 as long as I can, listen to something with it. Does the X00 have better bass than an HD800 with EQ? Ooh, that's a good question. I think I'll still take the X00 though, because it just slams, man. It's fun. Amps or DACs don't make a difference in blind test. Thoughts? Yeah, someone asked me that earlier. Not surprised. I would definitely find a hard time telling the difference. I actually had an AB box in here somewhere, not here, but in the other room. I had an AB box I had hooked up when I was messing with the Icon and Atticus and the really expensive amps and DACs that Zach sent me for that review. And I was toggling between them back and forth very, very quickly. And the differences were so minor. They're there, but they're so minor that it would not have affected my review. That's what I think about amps and DACs. I mean, power to the people who can hear the differences immediately, clear as day, but I just doubt it. I don't think it just doesn't affect me enough for me to care much about it. I use EQ software. What are my opinions on amp EQ? You mean analog EQ? It's probably better, honestly. I don't have an analog EQ to play with, though. I know about what is that? Shit Audio makes one, a analog EQ. That's fun, but haven't tried that personally either yet. Let's see. Would it be unwise to go with the L700 and an Energizer as opposed to the expensive Utopia? I cannot answer that. I don't have enough experience with either of those. Ideal frequency response. I still like the Harman response. Now, ratings target's real strange. I was talking to Sam. He's the guy who does the rating stuff on Reddit just yesterday, I think it was. And he has a very specific explanation as to why he comes up with, or how he came up with the curve he came up with. But it's trying to target something like the Harman response, even though it's not. He says there's going to be some more changes coming that are going to adhere more closely to the Harman response itself in the future. So keep your eyes on ratings. I mean, now that interfidelity is like dead, ratings is kind of like the only resource left that's taking measurements very, very seriously, even though it's a little bit bizarre right now as far as their compensation. Oh crap, lost my place again. Headphones with objectively perfect sub-banks for a reasonable price. No, doesn't exist. It's gonna be expensive. You gotta have a planar, and the 1060 is just not that good. So that's not gonna happen. I guess the closest you can get is probably a 400i. It's not perfect, but it's close to being a flat bass, I believe. So I like the K240. Actually, I still do like the K240. That's a really unique headphone. And it's not a very good headphone, actually, in terms of like technicalities, but I thought it sounded really unique and really cool. And so, hey, I like it. But I don't think it's the best headphone in that price range at all now. But I still like it. Still wish I didn't sell that, actually. That's a really fun headphone to have around. Common range and frequency for female vocals, I would say they probably top out, and I mean they cover the whole range, but the lower notes of female vocals probably going to center around 200 hertz, 300, and then most of the energy is probably around the ear resonance region, somewhere around 3K. I'm on Mars. Guys are really getting creative now. Choices in 820 or the Razer Kraken. Oh, come on, stop it. I'm glad someone else knows how bad the Kraken is, though. That thing is so bad. I think the first time I heard that, it was like, am I underwater, or is this a headphone? When do I think the 553 measurements will be up? I don't think that'll ever make it, because Tile measured them, but he never updated the PDF, and chances are very low that Rafe's team is going to update the PDF. Though it would be nice if they caught it up first before they start measuring new stuff on whatever new system they're putting together. Low-key, yeah, that was it. That was what I was talking about. The shit audio low-key is the analog EQ. About 5 more minutes, guys. What headphone specs can tell you if it's going to be muddy or slow? Now, that is a problem. I haven't really found... I used to think that was the impulse response. But not always. You can't always tell if muddy, grainy, splashy. These are all adjectives people use to say that the headphone lacks detail, lacks transparency, is not as clear sounding, is slower. It's not really something you can directly tell from measurements, and that's one problem I have with measurements. I haven't found a reliable indicator for that. Tile said something about amp DACs that you thought was true. Headphones are like the cake, and amps and DACs are everything else, like the frosting. You need a good bass, and all the rest is extra. Yeah, that's about right. I think that if you're starting with a very, very high-end headphone, then you will want to play around with the sources more, because you're more likely to hear the differences between them. So that's the icing on the cake. Indeed, I agree. That's a good way to describe it. A planar with good bass and impact besides the 1990 Pro. And the 1990 is not a planar though. Planar with good bass and impact. Yeah, the 400i is pretty good for that, I think. E10K, yay or nay? I actually used to have one of those. It's really not that bad. It's just limited in power because it's USB powered, so you got to be careful about that. LCD1 is perfect DF. Yeah, it does kind of measure like that. I never heard the LCD1, and I don't know if anyone's going to get a chance to hear one of those. I don't know who even owns one at this point, or if that was just a prototype only. I actually don't know that. Maybe you guys know more about the history of it than me. EL8Cs leak a little in very, very loud volumes. Yeah, they'll leak a little bit, but they're very good at sealing off, though. Their isolation's very good, but, you know, if you really crank it, it's not an IEM. What are my thoughts of DIY audio heaven? I really like DIY audio heaven. The funny thing is, most of the time, when you're doing measurements with a homemade rig, it can be wildly inaccurate. But for some reason, I like his measurements, and a lot of the time they tend to correlate to what I'm actually hearing. His flat line sounds a lot like my idea of a flat line, so I really like the work he does. But it is, that's right, yeah, you just said that below. It's flat plate, so it's bad by default. Yeah, it's definitely less accurate than a head and torso simulator for sure. But strangely, a bunch of the measurements on there are surprisingly well correlated to what I hear from those headphones. So, you know, but you have to be careful not to trust 100% that kind of stuff. Like Oratory has a professional rig. Oratory 1990 on Reddit has a really good rig. I think he has a real hats or some kind of coupling simulator there. So those are much more accurate, and obviously Ratings is using a real head and torso simulator. I think it might be the same one as Tiles, actually. So that kind of thing is much more trustworthy. Let's see. Suggested upgrades from the 712. You like the bite. Yeah, you're not going to find that. I don't think any other headphone has quite the same sound signature as the 712. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The K712 is the best headphone AKG makes. The 812 is a piece of garbage. Yeah, awesome. These companies could start sending you headphones like they did Tile. Actually, I have been sent headphones by companies before. I don't usually talk about that, but I will reveal if... I don't talk about that in general, but I will tell you in the review if I was sent something, because, you know, obviously it's, you know, excluding that information is stupid. So people who can claim I'm biased because I was sent something for free can at least claim that correctly. I'm the closest thing to Tile in terms of sound knowledge on YouTube. Wow, thank you. That's a really big compliment. You know, it's funny. I kind of modeled the reviews off of Tile's style. It just so happens that Tile and I had agreed quite a bit on like what headphones should sound like. So that's why we tended to hear things somewhat similarly. But I really wanted to try to take Tile's approach to a even more specific level. That was kind of like my idea behind the channel. So I'm glad that it sounds like I've succeeded at that. Expensive headphone cables. Yeah, no, that's a myth. Don't do that. Any experience with the blue Lola? No. I haven't heard that. Haven't heard that mic. Do old cans sound degenerate? I think more of the degeneration of old headphones is due to the pads wearing out if they're not replaced. That they can definitely affect the sound negatively, more so than the drivers themselves. Usually, the drivers themselves probably last forever. I mean, I have AKGs here from the 70s. My dad has a K140 from the 70s he bought new. Still works. Still sounds fine. Sounds like I would imagine it sounded back then. What do I think of the new Infidelity measurement guy? The measurement guy I like. I don't like Rafe, obviously, because he writes like an idiot. He doesn't understand Interfidelity's audience at all. He doesn't understand it. But the measurement guy sounds like he's got some cool stuff coming. I hope he can, make some more articles. I want to see what he does with whatever their new rig is. That would be very, very fun to delve into. But I couldn't care less about Rafe. Would I get an industry standard measurement system or the ability to measure the exact response of headphones at my own eardrums? Good question. Ultimately, I would want to have both. But if I can only pick one, I would probably want the industry standard system so that I could, at least relate the measurements to other people as a more standard thing to talk about on the channel. HG820 isn't even 95% of M50X. You guys are crazy. It's wasting 2,500 pounds on the HG820. Worth it if I'm using them as a rage reliever. Stop. You guys are going to kill me. Let's see. 1990s. Thank you. Oratory 1990s measurement system is a Gross 43 AG. Yes. And yeah, I do believe Ratings Head Acoustics HMS2 I think is the same one that Tile has, if I'm not mistaken. Thanks. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I do need to get Hawaiian shirts. That's right. Thanks for reminding me that. So I'm supposed to replace Tile now. Good close back with good isolation. I mean, the K553 is pretty good. The Bang & Olufsen H6 also works for that. Could I do my next review wearing a Hawaiian shirt, though? I don't actually have any Hawaiian shirts. I do have one button-down shirt that's... I won't spoil it for you guys, but I'll see if I can wear it and anybody figures out what it is in one of the next reviews. I have to get a new camera, or else you guys probably won't see the design on it very well. That I definitely need to do. Someone was asking me about earlier plans for the channel. Yeah, definitely one of them is improve the stupid video. This is a Logitech C920. I'll be honest, I'm still using it. Today, YouTube chat ruins my relationship with Sennheiser. So that was what you guys are trying to do now. I don't care. I would rather get no headphones from a manufacturer ever again and only review headphones that people send me, because then I have no bias left toward that brand or anything. In fact, I've blatantly given negative reviews. In fact, the Biodynamic Amerons and the GT 1770s were sent to me by Biodynamic, and I slammed them because they were bad compared to their previous headphones. And of course, they don't want to talk to me ever again after that. I don't care. That's the truth. I'm not gonna lie. I don't do paid reviews. I'll pay you to say something good. That doesn't work here. Sorry. Find another reviewer who's desperate enough for money. Blah, blah, blah. Whoa. Okay, almost caught up on the chat now. Descriptions of sound, overall understanding of value has definitely succeeded, Tylon, given great advice on a lot of purchases. You are most welcome. Why is the A900X the best headphone in existence? Because A900X, that's why. You bought the 553 Mark II for my recommendation. Did you get it yet, or did you just buy it? Hopefully it fulfills your expectations. Let's see. Wish there was some over-ear headphones being made. Some Metal 571 over-ear headphones? Oh, you mean like something I designed? That would be nice. That would be very nice. If I have a decent smartphone with a decent camera, use Droid Cam, huh? Okay. I was wondering if there was software to do that. I'll have to look into that. I have a Pixel 2 XL, so that's more than good enough. I'll take a look at that. What is the price limit after which the difference between headphones is no longer worth extra money? Now that depends on you, because the problem is people always want better. The grass is always greener. You guys probably already know that. But for normal people, I would say going beyond $300 to $400 is where things start to get expensive way too quickly for a real upgrade. Do I consider reviewing gaming headsets? Yeah, maybe the Odyssey Mobius. What is my favorite car company? I am an absolute Lamborghini guy. But that's a dream thing. I don't really have a favorite car company that I would drive every day. Right now I have an Infiniti. But my parents are big Honda fans, so I tend to drive Japanese cars because of the reliability in general. But of course that's not always true. You have to do a lot of research, but that's what I tend to go toward. Headband needs to be tighter. Yeah. The thing with these is they need to seal properly. As long as you're getting bass from them, you're good. As long as you can hear sub bass from the K553. Will I ever review the 305s? Maybe. I was thinking about getting a pair of those as a reference point actually in the future, so that may happen. Germany or Japan, if I was sent on a series of factory audio tour? Oh, definitely Germany. I want to see Sennheiser's facility. Apparently it's literally world class, like absolutely amazing. Headphone I'm most looking forward to listening to. That's a good question. See, I'm at the point in the hobby where I've actually heard most of the really, really high-end stuff, so nothing surprises me anymore. I've already spoiled my ears forever. But stuff that I'm curious about, one in particular, I'll give you an example, is the CD900 ST, because it's so weird. No one has that, and the people who have it love it, so it really intrigues me. Why is it named Metal 571? Why is that my name? I was talking about that earlier. When I was 14, I just came up with some combination of what genre of music I was listening to and some numbers, and it sounded cool, and that's it. There's no other reason. Okay. Get a sweatband to pull the hands closer to my ears. Yeah, that might work. As long as you're getting bass from the K553, you should be okay. That means it's sealing properly. Some people get absolutely no bass. Yamaha 8 or 5 headphones. I have not listened to the Yamaha headphones, but I don't think they're that great. Or else, they'd be probably a lot more recommended by now, because I think they've been around for a while. Do I like Fear? How did you know that I played Fear? I was like a religious player of Fear multiplayer back in, oh man, what was that, 2007? Yeah, that's when it was. That game came out in 2005, I think, though. Yeah, I feel old now. Yeah, Fear is great. Fear 1. Not, you might have seen me in the game in multiplayer. What was it? I had a really dumb name. I think it was like Eliminator. Eliminator X or whatever. It's some really stupid name I came up with, and I changed it later. I guess everyone probably did play Fear because it was really popular. First of all, single player, I love the single player, and the multiplayer was free. They released it separately as Fear Combat, and that's mainly why I oh wow, you guys must have seen the box. That's probably why. It's actually back there. Yeah, I still have the original box for that. Yeah, the Fear Combat was the multiplayer component, which was free, so that's why I got into it. Let's see, what do I think of newer games like PUBG? I have not actually played any of those Battle Royale games, but I'm aware of them. And yeah, there are actually some joysticks back there, too. I have a couple joysticks. Cytec X52 Pro is down there. I'm sorry, not down there. It's up in this corner. It's in a box, though. I have a Cytec Cyborg ST290 Pro at the bottom. I used to have a bunch of Gravis Blackhawks when I was young too. I don't know what happened to them. I had some racing wheels too. That was my thing. Need for Speed was my thing when I was a kid. Can I recommend studio monitors for mixing? They were plugged straight into the computer. Not for those. I only know the ones that plug into like mixers or interfaces. Open back headphone for Fortnite. For gaming, open backs, it depends on your price range there. Let's see. New trend of non-headphone headphones, like the Bose Sound Companion and MySphere. Oh, that's a good question. I think those are just wild. And while I appreciate the idea, I'm not sure that's ever going to catch on. But it's a fun idea. Wait, why did someone delete what do I do IRL? Because I was about to answer that. I'm a software engineer. I write code. Let's see. For listening to music, Music Bee. I've heard Music Bee, but I haven't tried it. Can you start sending me Hawaiian shirts to review? I'm reviewing Hawaiian shirts. Wow, I said I would stop at the 2-hour point. I didn't. You don't need to send me Hawaiian shirts. I can go ahead and buy them. Don't worry. All right. That's going to be it. Thanks, everybody. 80 people, it looks like, around was what we had at our peak. That's pretty good. I'll do one more. What course did I study? I have a bachelor's and a master's degree in computer engineering. That's what I did for school. Thanks, everybody. It's good to come back here. I'm going to try to get the LCD2C out maybe a couple weeks, something like that. Maybe the Arvana Live before that, because I know that's really, really popular and really good, actually. So again, thanks everybody for supporting the channel, and I'll see you again soon. Yeah, I'm gonna try to stream maybe once a month or something at least, and I'll see you guys soon. Thanks.